about money with Mike Adams on AM 1590, The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
It's Saturday, and we're going to be talking about money. We have a special guest today. I'm here with Chris and Al, of course, on the radio, and I'm going to let Al introduce our guest.
Yeah, as Mike said, we have a special guest today, Jessica Perrone. Jessica is a 16-year veteran of the financial services industry. She hosts a show, Her Money and Investing, and her mission is to make money and investing topics relatable to women teens of all backgrounds. In addition to her weekly show, Jessica develops innovative curriculum that breaks down finance into approachable and fun classes for females of all ages. Jessica is also the mom of 3 teenage daughters. Hi, Jessica, you there?
Hey, I'm here. I'm playing the air guitar. That's a great intro there.
That's what. Well, I was thinking that. I remember talking in Vegas to you that what you and I have in common is that we both have 3 teenage daughters.
Oh my goodness! But they wouldn't know that intro song for sure.
So, my first question for you is how often is Gilmore Girls on at your house? Because it's on all day long at my house.
It's not on. They don't watch TV anymore. They watch their own devices. They're watching their TikToks. So if we're looking at trends here, identifying investments in the household. I don't even have there's one TV in the house, and I don't think it's ever on anymore.
Wow.
We should do. Yeah.
Mine seems to be running, not right now with the kids out of school, definitely at nighttime it's running, and I'm watching at least 2 episodes a day.
Now, how many alone?
I have to admit, before I had kids, my wife and I did watch the whole series. That was, it's a 20-year-old series, so I've already seen it once. But anyways, I want to get to, Jessica has a fascinating story, and I want you to tell us about your background, not just your financial background, but you told us briefly when we talked about how you grew up and everything like that. And why don't you start there and tell us how you got into this and just kind of lay down the groundwork for us.
Sure. Thanks so much for asking. So I grew up really poor. Just to be frank and honest, I grew up really, really poor. I was the oldest of 8 children. And honestly, we shopped at secondhand stores on half off day. And I remember the chaos. My mom unleashed all of it into the store. That's probably the only store we didn't get kicked. We wouldn't have been able to get kicked out of either because, of course, those ladies were saints in the store.
Right.
And looking back at it, it's things that you look back at and you laugh at now, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do is laugh.
Yeah, and my mom was so resourceful, bless her heart, and she did things like we went to the University of Pittsburgh. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was probably one of the few cities where, when I was a kid, you could still have 8 children, right? With the cost of living. Nowadays, the cost of living there has increased, as it has in a lot of cities around the U.S., but she was really super resourceful. So, we would go to the dental school to have our dental done. And I was a product of getting the lunches through schools, the school programs, and the summer, feed the kids programs.
Right.
So I can actually attest that those programs really help kids get a leg up. And I look back at those programs, and I'm super thankful for them.
Right.
Because they all led me to this journey that I've been on. So really what I'm trying to get at is that I knew nothing about money or money conversations or investing or even savings account, because there wasn't any money for a savings account, right? It literally went from paycheck to grocery store, and that grocery store trip was the coveted trip. You were really, really good for mom, so maybe she'd pick you for the grocery store.
You grew up when they didn't have the EBT cards and they had to pull out the old Monopoly money as food stamp.
Well, that was the thing about my mom. For whatever reason, I remember her being too proud for the food stamps.
Really?
She was really, she came to the U.S. when she was 11, so she still had that sort of pride in her. And I just remember her just saying, no, I'm not going to do the food stamps. And for whatever reason, I don't remember now, but thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to have to ask her about that, actually. But the other services, I remember no problem. So thanks for that, Al. I was like, no.
Because the reason why I say
serious.
that
I'm
is because that's
wondering.
another thing we have in common. I grew up with 5 brothers in a 3-bedroom apartment. My father worked 3 jobs, and I remember my mother going to the capital market, and I remember pulling out the old Monopoly food stamps. Now it's more sophisticated with the EBT cards. It's not as obvious, but back then, oh man, it was obvious when you're dragging 5 kids to the market.
Yes.
And you're pulling out the food stamps. It's everybody knows.
Okay, where did you get your clothes from?
You don't even want to know that story. You don't want to know that. But I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you the story. Most of my clothes came from the Hadassah market. It was a little Jewish-run charity, and most of my clothes came from one kid. Do you know how I know that? Because his mother
They had the name written inside
in everything.
the
And when I say I had every stitch of clothes from this kid, I had every stitch of clothes. So we used to go swimming at the Lincoln Hancock pool when we were kids. And I'm standing on the diving board, getting ready to do my best Greg Louganis dive, right? Well, my friend George Carutis sneaks up from behind me and pulls my shorts down. And it's not only bad that you're standing there in your underwear, but he had his name in the back of the underwear. It said Andy Levin's underwear on it. So I'm standing there and they're saying, hey, he's got someone else's underwear on. That's a true story. So.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, so I was going to talk about money scripts, but this kind of leads into that like money script. And to this day, I cannot see clothes go to waste. So up until recently, when my daughters are actually taller than me, I took all their hand-me-downs. No joke. I would not buy myself new clothes. I would take their hand-me-downs. And do you have a funny like money script like that growing up in such a family, Al?
With hand-me-downs?
Or just any that come to mind, like a money script or a way that you approach money as a result of your background.
I don't. Good question. I can't say I do. I think I'm definitely take from my parents that they were very frugal. My mother was very resourceful.
Yes.
And I do take that. I mean, I still shop. I still buy a lot of things secondhand, even clothes to this day. I'm like, I hate spending money on something that I don't have to spend full price on.
Yeah, that's your money script. Absolutely.
I hate things full price. I don't like to buy stocks at full price either. I want a bargain.
I don't either. Maybe that's why we're good investors. But hey, so Al, have you heard about this money script? It's by Brad Klontz. Have you heard about this?
I have not.
Okay. So for the listeners out there, you can actually Google Brad Klontz. That's BradKlontz, and you can search for the money script test. And basically, he is a thought leader in the world of financial therapy. And he says that your money scripts are your unconscious belief about money, and it's often rooted in childhood.
Yep.
And that it affects your behaviors and perspectives. So Al, I want you to take the test and let me know what your money script is.
I will take it. I will take it.
And we're both going to be money vigilant. It's called money vigilance, and that is being super frugal, right?
Yes. I mean, you can't. One thing to teach your kids, right, is the first thing you got to teach them is you can't spend more than you make.
Absolutely. And that's so funny because in my Before Investing class, I actually talk about the financial ducks. And that is one of the financial ducks, which is making a budget, right? You're making your budget. And believe it or not, it's not really taught. It's not.
No.
So, Al, how do you teach your kids?
I'll tell you,
kids?
my kids are 19, 17, and 11. And my oldest daughter, when she had her first job, was making really good money at this restaurant. I mean, she was killing it for a couple hours a night. She was just crushing it for a 17-year-old kid. And I'm like, wow, she got all this money. She was broke all the time. She had no rent. She was paying for herself. She was broke. I'm like, Catherine, you're broke all the time. And it took a while for her to realize that, oh, wait. I can't, if I spend more than I make, I'm going to be in serious trouble. Now she's a frugal whatever, but she is tight with a buck.
That's awesome. So, and she learned, right?
She learned.
I sometimes wonder if that's not inbred, if that's not something that is a part not necessarily 100% learned, but also you're born with. So, because I have 3 daughters, right, and they're all 3 my daughters, and I have 2 that are super frugal and 1 that just like money's like water to her.
Right, right. Right. And the thing is, I think what you got to look at, what I had to look at and break down was the social connections, her friends. Her friends had more money than she had and had more spending ability. So they were out buying really expensive things, and she didn't have that. So we're coming up to a break here, so we'll get back with Jessica after this. We're back with Jessica Perrone. We're talking about money here. We're talking about women in money and how the difference between how men and women basically interpret money and how they learn, how it's a learned behavior. So, Jessica, take us through that. Tell us what you do.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So basically, what I'm doing here is I have created a curriculum that teaches women about personal finance and investing. And it's kind of an interesting story how I ended up doing this. So my now ex-husband and I were trying to make things work between the 2 of us. And what I ended up doing was I ended up leaving finance, leaving the commute to the city, and being a stay-at-home mom. Yes. And I went from finance and being on trading desks and the hustle and bustle to being a stay-at-home mom. It was shocking. It really was. And so I'm trading at home, and I'm just like, I really miss having people to talk markets with. Right. I really miss all the discussions and the big people talk. Like I'd like to say I'm a fashionable woman, but I'm not into fashion, right? I'm not into like pop culture. I'm a dork. I love my financial news, right? So I felt I didn't really have a lot to talk about with the other moms. I love them. They're great people, don't get me wrong. Right. But I'm like, you know what? I really want to create a book club for female traders so we can come together and talk about the markets. So that was my intentions originally.
Did you create that book?
So I started telling people, I'm like, hey, I want to start a book club for female traders. Crickets. In my community. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to teach women how to trade. And so I went to, no joke, I'll never forget this day. I went to the soccer field and I started telling my girlfriends, hey, I'm teaching women how to trade. I was like, all these women, they're stay at home. They used to have careers. I'm sure they want to do something with their minds. I'm like, I'm sure they want to learn something about the markets. And the humorous part, and it's sad at the same time, it's humorous and sad, is that as soon as I said, you know, hey, I'm teaching women about how to trade, the rosacea came up the neck, the anxiety started showing. Like, oh no, I can't do that. Oh, I don't have a finance background. That's scary. And I was taken aback by this reaction, this instant, you know, anxiety with the word trading.
Right.
And I had a realization at that point in time that I needed to start.
Were you just teaching trading though, or investing too? Was investing or just trading?
Well, initially it was trading, right? Yep. Like, well, not day trading. So my strategy, you have to learn how to place trades in order to invest, right? Yep. So I believe that there is a little bit of you can interchange the terminology depending on what your strategy is. Right. Okay. And so and you still, even if you're going to invest, you still need to know about the fundamentals, right? You still, even if you're going to trade, you need to know about the fundamentals. So that is sort of where I was going with it. And then I realized, you know what, I just need to teach women about how to speak to their financial advisors. Right. So what I ended up doing was starting with my curriculum of Investing for Beginners, which basically explained to women the different ways that they can put their monies to work, whether it is a robo-advisor, whether it's a retail broker, or whether it's a financial advisor, just so that they know what their options are. I talked to them about what stocks are, the riskiness of different asset classes. Right. so that they would have a really good foundation if they went to a financial advisor. Or, if they wanted to play some trades on their own in their retail brokerage, or if they wanted to go with a robo-advisor. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, what I found was when women were coming to this class, some of them had really, really bad debt situations where their credit cards were maxed out. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to invest their way out of their credit card debt. Right. And that's like going to Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. And I actually talked about that on my show today. I was talking about whether or not, if you have bad debt, like if you have high credit card debt with really high interest rates, if you should be contributing to a 401k or paying off the debt. And so you can actually catch the replay of that on my website. That's herfiniq.com. But what I realized after that experience was that I needed to create a financial wellness plan for women so that they could get their, and I coined this phrase, financial ducks in a row before that they start investing. So in my program, the financial ducks are making your budget, like we were talking about, Al, identifying savings in your budgeting, right? Mm-hmm. Paying off that bad debt and establishing an emergency fund, and all the while cultivating your credit score. And once you have these financial ducks in a row, then you want to start thinking about investing. And a lot of women didn't understand that either. There was a disconnect. And I feel that there's a disconnect in a lot of avenues and aspects of the investing process just because of lack of education. I think I go back and I think about how I learned about how to save or how to put my monies into different buckets. It wasn't my parents, no. Right. I'll never forget my mentor, Dawn. One of my first jobs was with the Boston Globe, and they had really great benefits. And he's like, "So Jessica, what are you doing with that paycheck?" It's like my first job out of college. And I said, I'm going to pay off my student. I'm going to pay off my student loans and pay for my apartment.
Of course,
and eat.
Right.
And he's like, you should really consider that thing called the 401k and the stock option plan, the employee stock purchase plan. And I was like, okay. And I did that. I put the money aside. I would not have Jessica. Done that.
It brings up you bring up a good point, because I think just to people in general, not just women, but there's a lot of marketing around credit cards and stuff like that with the teasers to no interest, or we'll give you 1,000 miles or something like that. And then the financial industry teaching people how to almost like gamble online when these sites popping up, and people get sucked into that, thinking that this is easy. Like all my friends, when I worked back in Boston, would go to Vegas and tell me how much all the money they won. I'm like, really? I don't know how those people in Vegas, how those casinos stay in business if you guys are going out there killing them with all the money you're winning.
Right? Yeah, for sure, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And it's in the debt. Sadly, the credit card debt starts frequently in college. These teens, they go to college, they haven't had the financial education to say, hey, these interest rates are crazy, and if you cannot pay off your balance on a monthly basis, not only are you ruining your credit score, but you're going into debt before you even, have any income coming in. So even that to me is a little cray-cray, as they say now.
Like my finance professor in college was Indian man, who's a very nice man. He used to always say the credit card companies, in his Indian accent, the credit card companies are very, very smart, because they would suck people in. They do. They suck people in, and you get stuck in this vortex of just keep racking it up because they know the psychology behind it, right? If somebody has $5,000 in credit card debt and they see that shirt they want for $50, they're like, well, I'm already paying this. It's only another $2 a month. What's the big deal?
What's 50 more bucks?
Yeah.
Right. But the caveat in our society, and this is also is the conundrum, the financial conundrum, is that your credit score is your financial passport. But you
Yes.
cannot cultivate your credit score unless you start with a credit card, right? There's no other way to do it. So, where's the logic in that? If you are like, oh, I'm going to follow this methodology and only pay cash for everything, you get penalized for that in our society.
I know. And if you have 3 credit cards and you decide I don't really need the third one, I'm going to cancel it. They go, oh, well, that's no good. You just gave up $5,000 of debt you could have used. I'm like, and my credit score goes down. But wait, I don't need it.
Yeah.
But they don't care. They make the rules, and you got to play them.
Yeah. Yes. And so that's another aspect that I talk about in my before investing class is how to cultivate your credit score and actually how much you save in interest on things like auto loans, mortgages, credit card interest, all these things that you save a significant amount of money if you cultivate your credit score.
Right.
So, and of course, and I know there was an article today about, the best way to save money is to make more money, but I really believe that it's a combination of the two, right? You got to learn how to save money and make money at the same time to build that wealth. Yes.
So we got about a minute and a half here for this section. So tell us a little bit more about the sessions. How many people usually show up, and is it online or are they in person? What's the makeup?
Okay, so it's really interesting, my makeup right now. So I'm working on a self-directed version of my classes. They were via Zoom. I had a women's group that took classes, various women's groups, and then I also had my teen programs, and I really love my teens. And I just feel that it's so rewarding to make differences in these teen girls' lives. And it was so funny, and you guys will really appreciate this. So in their classes, they created a company called Sturdy Straws, okay? It was Sturdy Straws and Sturdy Lids, okay? And this company went through all this different types of news flow, and the stock price, it's all imaginary, right? I'm giving them examples that are interesting to them.
Hey Jessica, we got about 20 seconds here in this section. Can we just continue that to the next section, and then let's talk, and then we'll get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of the investing approaches that we talked about.
About Money with Mike Adams on AM 1590 The Answer. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
Jessica, let's finish what you were just saying, and then we're going to get to something really fun that you want. We're going to geek and nerd out on investment approaches. And I think I know Chris and Mike will want to jump in on this one, and because they both want to geek out on this too. So, but finish what you were just saying.
So I think I was just talking about the girls, the teens, and them creating the company, right?
Yep.
And what I was trying to do is I was trying to model how company stock prices move depending on the news flow.
Right.
And I wanted to get for them to understand, if there is competition, right, in their space, what happens? If there is there were mergers, they couldn't get product, the suppliers refused to sell to them, all sorts of really fun things happened to the company. And we had so much fun doing it. And what I really love is that I am breaking the cycle. I am breaking the cycle of girls saying, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And I think let's get to the investing, but I really want to circle back to that because I really feel that it starts from home.
Sure.
And I think that's great and a great point. And it's something you brought up earlier. And it's actually knowing how to talk to your financial advisor. A lot of people, they get this misconception that you don't necessarily need to be an expert when it comes to investing, but you need to know what's going on so you know when you're getting screwed or when you're not, right? And I always think of this classic example, the girl that walks into the car dealership, she knows absolutely nothing about cars. And she's getting there, she goes in for an oil change, and next thing you know, she's paying $800 to have her wiper blade fluid changed, right? Because she simply just does not know what's going on. And in that same way, I hate seeing, especially single moms go in and getting sold a variable annuity, for example, something that has very limited upside that's going to lock them in for a long time, and it's just absolutely horrible for their financial picture. And so in the same way, I think that what you're doing right now with giving girls the tools to just the knowledge, ultimately that's going to just set them up for the long term and avoid really poor, investments.
Yes, I completely agree. And really what I'm trying to do is install confidence. And as I mentioned, I have my show as well. It's a weekly show. It's completely free. And I had created the show as a place for women to practice the language of money and investing, because it is a language. And it is a language that has been cultivated by men, and it's very masculine in all senses. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sort of tweak it so that it's approachable to women, so that they can be like, oh, I know what a stock is. Oh, I know what an ETF is. Oh, I know that at the grocery store the price is going up. Oh, that's inflation, right? I'm not afraid of that word. I know what it is, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take these concepts and make them approachable to women of all backgrounds, right? And I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I feel so good once I connect with these women. I was just in a workshop last night, and they were using the terminology that I taught them. I was so proud of them. I was like getting teary-eyed. I was like getting goosebumps.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling, Jessica. I have a client, Charlotte, and Charlotte's been my client for about 12 years. And so in this recent market downturn, I called Charlotte and I said, Charlotte, how you doing? The market's really down. She said, well, Al, when we first started working together, you told me the market goes up and the market goes down, so I'm fine. Okay, bye, Charlotte. So,
I love that. I love that. Did she say that she has some cash on the side that she wants to put in the markets with you?
She does, but she has plenty of income coming in, so she's not really worried about income. And so she just realized, okay, this goes up, this goes down. Because when we first started working together, I think it was 2010, and the market, as soon as she invested her money, it dropped. I can think it was like 12.5% in a week, and she panicked. Right. She called me in a panic. So this time she was like, no, I get it. Market goes up, market goes down. Okay, so.
That's great. And that's another reason why I talk about, emergency funds and whatnot, so that they have that, so that they understand that they need a buffer in case the markets go down, right? So that's all, preparing for investing in the markets too. So yeah, but I completely know what you're feeling and how you're feeling, because this process that I've gone through has opened my eyes and has been so rewarding. I was just talking to a friend last night. I said, my heart is full. My heart is so full. I'm so happy with what I'm doing, because I am changing people's lives, and there's so much gratitude for it out there. And in turn, I am feeling so happy for teaching, everything from personal finance all the way up to investing concepts. And I love the fact that women are getting it. They're getting it, and they're understanding it, and they're building their confidence. So like you had said, what is my end game? Well, my end game is, even if a woman has the confidence to walk into your office, Al, and say, okay, I'm ready to talk to you. I have confidence that I will be able to understand what you're going to say. And I'm confident that I will have a discussion with you about my future, because the financial advisor is a tool in your wellness toolbox. So, for example, you have your doctor, who is the tool for your physical health, right?
Right.
You have the dentist, who takes care of your teeth. You have the lawyer, who takes care of your legal. Well, the financial advisor is the role of your financial wealth. Let's get
to the cardiologist in the
financial services hospital.
No, the cardiologist and the endocrinologist. I mean, what investment approaches do you teach them? To the ones that keep moving on, that want to be more sophisticated. What do you teach them?
So wait, are you talking to me or wait?
I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah. You teach. Are you teaching them? Are you teaching them like?
I'm like, what?
No. I'm talking to you, Jessica. Are you teaching them like technical trading? You teaching them bottom up investing? More of a macro approach. What is your approach to teaching them?
Okay. So what I'm teaching them is how to identify investments in their everyday life. Okay. And the reason why I am an advocate of this type of philosophy is twofold. The first one is the reason why is one of the big reasons why. Actually, two big reasons. Excuse me. So the first time I ever invested in the markets, I actually lost what was a lot of money to me. You know, it was way back in the beginning of my career, and the guys around me, no joke, the guys around me, and again, the guy game, right? I wanted to like invest like the guys around me, and they were all talking about the stock. It was the hot stock, but their broker was on the phone with them. This was before retail accounts, right?
Yep.
This is where you had to set up the account, you had to, put the funds in, and then there were maintenance charges, and then there's trade charges and everything. So here my little Jessica, maybe it was $100, maybe it was $200. It was like peanuts, but it was a lot of money to me at the time, right?
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, put it on that, and it was a penny stock, and that's another one of my rules. So we're not gonna talk about that right now. But I had no idea what the stock did.
The Wolf of Wall Street? Was it the Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah,
Pink slips?
absolutely.
Okay.
It was the broker's big tip, right? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, so I bought it, and not only, and of course I missed the move. Of course I missed it because I had to set up the account. I had no idea though about all these, everything that goes on behind
that you got stuck in a classic pump and dump.
Yeah, I did, and it's funny because go forward to 2022, and I'm talking to my daughter about her TikTok pump and dump scheme that she got trapped in. And
Right.
That's another story. But going back to this, not only did I lose all the money on the stock, but I ended up having to pay maintenance fees and broker fees and to close the account. No joke. And I was like, I'm never trading again. That was me. I was like, not only had I no idea about the markets, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. But thank goodness for everyone else, I gave it another try.
Right.
But that was one of my lessons. And honestly, what my program is a culmination of all my experiences in life, and what I wish people would have taught me over the years. It really is. But going forward again to another situation was I love Clorox. I do. I am 100% brand loyal to Clorox. I would never buy the generic. I use Clorox on everything. I use it on my white clothes and laundry. I use it to clean my washing machine, floors, kitchens, bathrooms, you name it. And if there's any like fun uses for Clorox, I know them too. Can you tell I really like Clorox? Did you guys have any question on that?
And is this where you say you own shares in Clorox?
Well,
1 minute.
Well, so basically, I had gone to a gentleman that I really admired and that was a really good trader, and I said, you know what? I wanted his advice. I said, look, I'd really love Clorox. What do you think? Should I invest in it? And in his very Wall Street way, he goes to me, he goes, well, there are generic pressures on the brand, and they're eating up market share, so I don't know what the earnings are.
So, Paul Harvey used to say, and now for the rest of the story. So we're coming to commercial break. To hear the rest of the story, you'll have to join us after the commercial break, and you will want to do that.
We are back. We are with Jessica Perrone here with her financial IQ, and she was actually just telling a story before we left for break. So we're going to hand it right back to you, Jessica. Do you want to pick up where you left off?
You love Clorox.
Love Clorox.
I do know it. You couldn't tell. You couldn't tell, right? You couldn't tell.
You like the guy in that movie, My Big Fat
Greek.
Greek Wedding, with the not with the bleach. He has the Windex.
Oh, that's another thing I love. Oh, I'm gonna have to do some research after the show. I will. Anyhow, so what happened was I did not end up investing in Clorox, and to this day, it sort of prompted my thought process because I went through a big journey. I went through all sorts of different screeners and all different types of strategies, and then I realized I just want to invest in what I believe in. So I have about a list of 200 names that I monitor on a day-to-day basis. And Al, you were talking about like these a lot of the youth don't understand how much work goes into being a successful investor. I wake up at 5:30 every morning and I read my market news, and I love the markets, right? And that was another item that I do bring up to women. I say, look, it depends on what your motivation here and what your end result is. And is it, do you want to place the trades? Do you want to be self-directed? Well, if you want to do that, well, it does take a lot of effort to do that. Or you can look into your robo-advisor or your financial advisor. And I also love the fact that once you have the relationship with a financial advisor, and I have all three, I will admit, because I believe in benchmarking. If my self-directed account is not as good as my financial advisor, or bettering it, because I'm putting all this effort in, why am I doing it, right? So I'm a firm believer in benchmarking my own performance as well.
Yep.
But I love my financial advisor. I'm always throwing ideas off of her and talking with her, and that's kind of the relationship that I want women to be able to have.
So Mike brought up a good point. So I don't mean to cut you off there, but Mike brought up a good point. What do you tell women when their advisor's not performing and they're like, all right, I made 8% and my advisor made 3%? I mean, what do you tell those women? And I like him, he's a nice guy, but what do you say?
They're always nice when you show up. You have a personal relationship. You've been working for 20 years, but they haven't been performing. Like, what do you do?
I want to add just one thing. I was in the big firms for 18 years, and the whole mantra in those firms was sell the relationship, not the performance.
Yes.
Sell the relationship.
Yes.
Make them like you, even if you can't deliver.
Yeah.
Yes. And what's interesting is that I don't really get a lot of those. More along the lines is I talk about, icebreakers with their financial advisor, talking about how to start the conversations with them, because a lot of the husbands have the relationships with the financial advisors, right? Mm-hmm. And in fact, from a recent UBS study, they actually quoted that 48% of women defer long-term financial decisions to the men. And we're not talking about the 1950s either. We're talking about 2021.
I know, we talked about this briefly in that we see, we come across, Chris and I and Mike, as these men that run the finances, but we ask them the question, is who else is impacted by your decisions, right? And so, the wife, what happens if you go before the wife does? Statistically, that's what's going to happen. What is she going to do if she doesn't understand what's going on?
Yes, and it's interesting because they also are citing some of the reasons why women defer to men. And number one is that they think that their spouse or partners know more than they do on that topic. So it's a confidence thing.
Right.
It is. It really is for women a confidence thing.
So Jessica, a couple segments ago, you had brought up your daughter and how she had actually gotten into a TikTok pump and dump, and for me, being in this realm, growing up in the social media era, I can certainly understand that. And I have quite a few individuals in my life, both guys and girls, that are constantly coming to me with the next, coin that they see. What do you tell your clients and the people that work with her FinIQ? How do you teach them what to avoid?
Right. So we talk about risk. right? What is your risk tolerance? And I even talk about it in terms of, when they go to a financial advisor for the first time, the financial advisor gives them a questionnaire. And that questionnaire is really a gauge of their risk tolerance, right? And based on that risk tolerance, that's the type of assets or ETFs or whatever it is, the strategy that you guys decide on together, that's where you put the monies. Mm-hmm. And so what I really do talk about is risk and the various levels of risk out there, where an asset like Bitcoin is super duper risky, right? Whereas an ETF that's diversified, that has that's pegged to an index like the SPY, is diversified over 500 companies and therefore would be less risky. So we're talking about the risk of different asset classes as well. And just talking about, I do this exercise with the women in class too. I say if the market went down 10%, how would you feel? I say, okay, let's put our hands up. Now start taking your hands down when you're uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I say, okay, the markets went down 20%. How are you guys feeling? And so we go through the process and we start talking about their risk and that attitude towards risk as well. And some of them, I will admit, I was pretty impressed. Some of them will say, you know what, I'll be like 50%, and they're like, you know what, maybe I'll put some more money in. I was like, you guys, that's a lot of risk tolerance. I'm like, you must have a really good, emergency fund. If that's how you guys are feeling. But with my kids, I want them to make the mistakes. I want them to make the mistakes young because they have so much time to make up for it. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I go over what's in my daughter's trading account. And it was funny because that's how I identified the pump and dump stocks. There were the two that weren't performing and were down significantly. I'm like, and I had no idea what they were. And I'm like, what are these? And they're like, I know, Mom, I know. They were TikTok. And I'm like, anything. I'm like, didn't I teach you anything? And they're like, yeah, Mom, we know. And I'm like, you got a loss there. But like that. Let them make their mistakes. Don't
Jessica,
try
we're
to
coming
make
up. We're coming up to the end of the show here.
Yeah. So
already?
And
already?
I know the hour flew by. It was so much fun with you.
So I want to let you tell people who are listening to the program how they can reach out to you and connect with you, because I'm sure there are women who want to know what you've been telling. So explain to our listeners how they can contact you.
Sure thing. So I am Jessica Perrone. I'm the founder of Her Financial IQ. The website is www.herfiniq. So that's HERFINIQ.com. And my social media handle is also at HerFinIQ. And that's the same across all social, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, Facebook. I have my weekly show every morning at 10 a.m. Thursday mornings. It's broadcasted via Facebook, not Instagram, sorry. It's via Facebook, it is LinkedIn, and also YouTube. And you can see all the recordings on my website, herfiniq.com as well. So please, if you're interested in checking out classes or checking out shows, or even if you just, want to say hi, if you couldn't tell, I love to talk. I'm not social or nice at all. I'm not approachable.
It was fun having you on.
Thanks.
We enjoyed the hour, and we'd love to have you on again at some date in the future and do this again because it was fun.
It was.
Yeah.
Thanks so
Jessica.
much. Thank you so much,
Jessica.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
And until next Saturday, we're about money.